Who Dat Nation? Week 1 is finally here, and we're inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast presented by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers, brought to you here with our good friend Lance Moore. Lance, how's everything, man?
Excellent, man. I'm chomping at the bit over here. It's like I feel like we've waited forever for football to be back, and here we are, opening night, obviously, and then opening week for us come Sunday. So I'm fired up, and it's like almost like a nervous energy. Like I just wanted to get started, and kind of see what we've got when everybody's out there and everybody's healthy, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, and this is a Saints team we've both been kind of excited about the possibilities for them, and it all comes to fruition hopefully week 1. And I want to remind anyone, if you're in the live chat right now, we're doing a giveaway, 2 tickets, 2 Sundays games, Saints Titans. Just enter your score prediction, and at the end we'll spin the wheel. We'll see who the winner is, and the winner will have to DM Boo Crew Media to get their tickets. We'll find out the winner towards the end. So let's get into the start of this. Let's talk about what I think is one of the crazier stats I've ever heard in my life, Lance. It's the fact that Derrick Henry has never played against the Saints. This will be the first time he does it, which is kind of odd. The 2 times that they met prior, Saints-Titans, he was injured for both of them. One of them, they kind of sat out. He was having a great season. They didn't want to risk it. The other one, just outright injured. So slowing down Derrick Henry, obviously, is going to be one of those no-brainer comments that we'll make. But before I kind of hand it over to you, I want to actually read some stats that I found out this week, and I thought it was quite interesting. As good as Derrick Henry is, week 1s are not exactly his forte. Only in the last 5 seasons, only one time has he gone over 100 rushing yards, and most of the yards per carry, 3.9 in 2022, 3.4 in 2021, and 3.7 in 2020. So history in terms of week 1 actually might help the Saints, but we know this is a revamped D-line. They changed up at the defensive tackle spots. No more Onyemata, no more Shy Tuttle. They bring in a guy like a Brian Brzee. They bring in a Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard, but just looking over at this, Saints D-line, stopping Derrick Henry, how do you kind of feel about that matchup and the importance of slowing down number 22?
Well, first I'm going to talk about your week 1 stat. What has happened in the last 5 seasons has nothing to do with what's going to happen in week 1, right? Like if we show up and our defensive line is soft and just the front 7 in general is not able to get after him, then he'll have well over 100 yards. We know he's capable. We know he's one of the best in the league, and he's not an easy guy to tackle. It's not as simple as just getting your pads on him and he's falling down. I mean, he's 245 pounds and fast. So the guys up front are obviously going to do most of the damage as far as taking care of the offensive line and creating those gaps for our linebackers to be able to run free through and hopefully getting a bunch of tackles for loss. But I do think it's a lunch pail game. Like this is like the old Sean Payton bat game. This is definitely one of those games. Anytime you have a team that wants to come in and run the football, we know Mike Vrabel, old New England Patriots guy. He wants to run the football and play tough defense. He wants to make you make mistakes, and then they'll capitalize off of those mistakes. So I think stopping the run is paramount in this game. We want to make them throw the football because I think we've got a big-time advantage as far as the passing game goes. Our secondary, our linebackers in coverage against that group of receivers and that quarterback, which I'm assuming we're going to see Ryan Tannehill. And I've been saying it all week, like we owe these guys one after last season. And I think this is just a great opportunity for us to start this season off on the right foot and obviously get things going in the right direction early this season.
So you mentioned that passing game. I'm kind of curious from your perspective. Obviously, we know you know a thing or two about the wide receiver position. Assuming Lattimore is good to go, and obviously everything's trending in the right direction. Thankfully, had that minor knee injury towards the end of August, but he seems to be rounding back into form. Just the thought, I know obviously there's other receivers that are coming into play. We always like to talk about Chris Olave, but the Titans have a second-year guy in their own right with Treylon Burks. But just looking at that matchup between, let's say, Burks and Hopkins versus possibly Lattimore and Adebo on the outside, how do you feel about that in terms of where the Saints stack up there? I know if we date back to, I believe it was the 2019 season, really fun battle between Lattimore and Hopkins. At that time, D-Hop was with the Texans. But how do you feel about this go around in terms of where both guys are at this stage in their careers?
I love it. And I think we have a big time advantage. And it's even more so our corners, I think, being kind of at the top of their game, and less of DeAndre Hopkins kind of falling off. People are going to say he's not the same receiver. People are going to say he can't run anymore. Well, he was never really a blazer to begin with. Like, he wasn't a 4.2, 4.3 guy. He was a guy that kind of was able to get open with skill and with size and with strength, which those are three things that don't really leave you once you start to slow down. He can still do those things. So definitely still a capable receiver. But I like our guys. I mean, even throw in Alontae Taylor, man. I mean, I like our trio of corners that can get after these guys, that will make everything tough. And honestly, I look at this group and I don't see a big time speedster or a burner that we have to fear going down the field. And I think that, gives us some confidence to be able to get up there and get in these guys' faces and disrupt timing. A lot of times people who don't understand the position, wide receiver or corner, think the job of a DB is to jam the guy up at the line of scrimmage. But really the job is to disrupt timing. Like, this isn't high school football. You don't see guys getting jammed back to their own end zone. I mean, that's just not how it works in the NFL. And things happen so fast, and the referees are so ready to throw flags from time to time that a lot of times corners don't want to get up there and kind of like really get both of their hands on a guy and make him not be able to get off the line of scrimmage, because potentially there could be a flag for holding there. So getting up there and disrupting timing. What does that mean? I think that means making sure that guys can't get off the line of scrimmage clean. Now, that doesn't mean holding him at the line of scrimmage, right? That means affecting his release. If he wants to go inside, we're going to make him go outside. If he wants to go outside, we're going to make him go inside. We're going to try to make things as hard as possible for the receivers. And obviously, if you're messing up timing, then the quarterback's having to hold the ball a little bit longer, which gives our defensive front an opportunity to get after the passer. I think that's a big time key in this game, as well as obviously stopping the run. I don't think necessarily stopping the pass, but I think making the passing game difficult will be a big time opportunity for us, as well as turning the football over.
Yeah, and kind of on that point, and I want to kind of keep it on the defense for a second, because we're going to get to the offense too in general. And I think that there's so much to talk about, obviously, not just Derek Carr, but I think the receivers, especially Chris Olave, I'm so excited to see what he can do in year two. When I was trying to look at the mismatch, right, because I think there will be one at some point in this game. And I think especially week one, it's harder to find because there are some anomalies here and there. I look at the defensive line. I know it's revamped, but they're going against a Titans offensive line that only has one returning starter. How do you kind of feel about that matchup? I know we got a new guy in Brian Brzee. You're kind of seeing what Peyton Turner could do in year three. But how you feel about that aspect? Because we're talking about a Titans offensive line. Taylor Lewan, gone. Ben Jones, gone. One returning starter, it's Aaron Brewer, and he's in a different position. How do you kind of feel about that?
Well, you're talking about two Pro Bowlers that they lost, right? I mean, Ben Jones and Taylor Lewan were at one time, two of the best in the National Football League. So I just think that it's important for us to be able to get pressure with just our front four. That's kind of like my thing. Like, we don't need to be sending extra rushers like that. That could potentially hurt us in the passing game. But if we can get after these guys with our front, revamped versus revamped, I think we have the advantage there. I mean, obviously, we've still got a Cam Jordan. We still got Carl Granderson, like you mentioned, Peyton Turner. These guys are going to be, I think they're going to have their ears pinned back, ready to go and get after this guy. He's an athletic quarterback, right? So it's not going to be as simple as, we get close to him and we can bring him down. I think there's going to have to be some second and third efforts to get him down. But I think our group is definitely up to the task.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see, because like I said, really revamped for both sides. And we're going to see how that goes out. And I think right tackle could be interesting. Cam Jordan will be on that side. New play there. Hopefully that goes out for the Saints in their advantage. Now, before I get into the offense, I want to quickly get to one of our sponsors of this show, DraftKings.
Can you believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? Crazy, right? Well, good thing that's over. NFL's here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. This week, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. DraftKings is hooking everyone up with game day greatness. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Check the app to see what you get. Download now and use code BOOT to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code BOOT, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
Thanks again to DraftKings for being part of the program. So let's swing it over to the offense, Lance. Derek Carr's first year, first game with the Saints. Expectation level, where's it at for you?
Well, I mean, my expectations are high, and they've been high all offseason since we signed him. Look, this isn't Andy Dalton. And I think people this whole offseason have kind of been like, how much different is he than Andy Dalton? I think he's a better player than Andy Dalton ever was. I think there was a time when Andy Dalton was a really good player. I think now he's a serviceable backup, as we saw last season. But Derek Carr, man, has got some skill now. Like he's a guy that can definitely do some great things quarterbacking this offense. I think Pete Carmichael will be better in his second season as the play caller with this group. Obviously knowing that he's got a quarterback that can make all of the throws, a quarterback that is as cerebrally talented as he is physically. I think this is going to be a really, really fun group to watch. And I'd really be surprised if we weren't one of the top 10 offenses in the National Football League. I mean, I think we've got the talent on offense. We've got the offensive line that I think should be one of the better ones in the National Football League. We just have to make sure that we can stay healthy. That's the one concern that I have with that group is I don't think we have as great of depth as I think we probably need. But I mean, shoot, the longest list of really, really good tight ends. I mean, it is deep. Our receiver group is really, really special. I think that our running backs, even without AK for these first 3 weeks, I think we've got some guys now that can really play. And, not to say that we won't miss Alvin, because I know we will, but I think that we've got a group around Derrick that we can spread the ball around and have a lot of success offensively. But it starts with protection. It starts with taking care of the football as well as running the football. You can do all three of those things, and your offense should be really, really good, especially with the group of pass catchers that we have out there.
And who do you think might be the focal point, though? Because I'm curious, right? No Alvin. Where do you think this offense goes in terms of those crucial downs? You're looking for a guy. Who do you think that may be?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I would love to say Mike T, because he's the guy that, basically has the most skins on the wall. He's former offensive player of the year, like a guy that we know can make big plays in clutch situations. But we've just got so many guys, which I think is going to make it even tougher on defenses, not knowing who that number one receiver or number one go-to guy is on third down or in red zone situations or gotta have it situations, because those are plays that come up every single week. And if you have a plethora of guys that can make plays, it really makes the quarterback's job easier and the defensive coordinator's job much harder. So honestly, I don't know. I can't pick a single guy, but I do think that Jamal Williams is going to get a heavy load early on in this season, because why else would we bring him here than to make sure that he kind of expands on what he did last year in Detroit. And, that was, a heck of a year that he had. And I expect more of the same from him this season.
And for the running game, no Alvin. Is there any level of concern there in terms of, week one against a Jeffrey Simmons-led D-line, don't know how you beat that? Or do you think, you still got Jamal Williams? And let's not forget about Taysom Hill, too, what he can do, especially in the power run game. Where's that part? Because I agree with you. I think the passing game, they'll be able to spread out the ball, whether it's Juwan, whether it's Olave, whether it's Mike. Can't forget about a guy in Shaheed who the last month, obviously a little banged up, but the potential is there. But the run game, I would say, is the one thing from the preseason we didn't really get to see shine. Now, maybe that's because of backup offensive linemen. Maybe that's not elaborate run schemes. You're saving that for week one. Where's the confidence level in the run game minus Alvin? Because I know we've kind of been on the same page where, it's fun to talk about the new additions to the offense, but Alvin can still be that dude. But that dude will not be there for 3 weeks. So how do you feel about a Titans D-line that, if you're going to give them credit defensively, I think it starts up front with Simmons, with Arden Key, guys like that. What's the confidence level in what will be, I'd say for now, a Jamal Williams-led backfield?
Well, let me first say there's only one Alvin Kamara. Like he's special, and we don't have another Alvin on our roster. So I get that out of the way. But Jamal Williams is not some backup now. Like, this guy is more than capable of being a starting running back consistently in the National Football League. We've seen him, like last year in Detroit. He ended up being the starter, 17 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. And I mean, he is definitely capable. I think our offensive line is going to have to do some damage up front, right? I mean, because it's not like Jamal's just going to step in and he's going to play the Alvin Kamara role. But I think that means that we're going to potentially see a little bit more from the screen game. which we did not see very much of last year, which was kind of strange. And I think it had a lot to do with our offense not being quite as good as we're accustomed to. But yeah, I mean, I think that Jamal Williams is definitely going to be able to carry the load, and then sparing him with Kendre Miller. I mean, like we have some depth there. So, and we saw some of the flashes of what Kendre can do in the preseason. So it to me looks like he's back healthy and ready to go. And what better time to show up and make some plays than your first NFL game?
Yeah, I agree. And one other part I'll add to it, and I think this is going to go for the whole season, but offensive line, particularly with a guy like Trevor Penning in his first full year. I know it's year 2, but it kind of feels like that redshirt freshman year. What he's able to do, that'll be a big part of it. Now, before we get into what I would say is maybe our final finishing touches, I want to get to one more sponsor, and then we're also going to get to our final giveaway here. 2 tickets, Saints Titans. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's hear from Crystal Hot Sauce.
I need to clear something up about New Orleans. While our culinary scene might be on fire, our food has never been about heat. It's always been about flavor. And this is how New Orleans does flavor. Are we clear? Crystal, how New Orleans does flavor.
Thanks again to Crystal for being part of the program. So back in it here, going to bring up the DraftKings odds real quick, Lance. Saints, 3-point favorites, over under 41. So they're expecting a defensive game. Before we kind of head over to this giveaway and see who gets some tickets to the exciting Saints Titans game, in terms of overall feel, that over under is interesting. 41, like I said, you're expecting kind of a slugfest there. Do you feel like that's how it'll probably play out between two teams, Mike Vrabel and Dennis Allen led? I'd imagine they kind of want to get their hands dirty and play it to that style. But how do you think this will kind of play out?
You know what? I was actually thinking 28-14, so that's 42. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times, especially nowadays with teams not playing their starters a whole lot in the preseason, especially offensively, it takes a little while to kind of get going. Now, I'd love for there to be a 42-0 game, but I just think that, the way that Mike Vrabel wants to play, slow it down, run the football, be stout up front defensively, don't give up too many big plays. Like, it kind of lends me to believe that it's going to be a low scoring affair. But just hearing 41 just sounds kind of crazy. Like, I remember there was a day when 41 was what we scored offensively regularly. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that our offense comes out and starts fast and is able to score all over the place on these guys. I think it's a decent defense. I don't know that it's one of the, the best defenses that will play this season. But I definitely think there's opportunity there. And like I said, hopefully I'm wrong and we score a whole bunch of points.
I don't know if that's what you were going for, Lance, but saying that was like the ultimate flex about what, some games we could just drop 41. Because in my head, when you mention it, I immediately went to that Sunday night Colts Saints. I think you guys won 62-7 or something of that nature. So I was like, just the dominance that you guys had certain stages of that Saints era. So you're thinking 28-14. You feel like the Saints are capable of winning in that style of fashion against a respectable Titans team. Is that more so confident in the Saints? Is that also a mixture of not feeling the Titans too much this year? Where does that sit? I know you're uber confident in the Saints this year. You've made that pretty clear over the last couple of months, but is it also in terms of the opponent too? Because I'd say if the Saints were to beat a Mike Vrabel-led team by double digits week 1, that's quite the message to send for the upcoming games.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I'm not looking. I guess I'm confident in our team, but I'm just not quite as confident in the Titans. And I honestly don't even really know why that is. But looking at the line and us being favored by 3 at home, I don't know what the experts are looking at. I mean, I was expecting at least 5, maybe 6. But maybe everybody is thinking that the Titans are going to be really good, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, as much as I could see us winning by 2 scores, I could also see us winning by a field goal at the end, I guess. So, you never really know what to expect, especially with this team that continues to give people put them into cardiac arrest over the last several years. So hopefully this year is different.
Yeah, you mentioned the field goal. I have a weird theory that it comes down to Blake Grupe because of the kicking competition. Now, I'm not saying I want it to. I just have a weird theory that's where it comes down. but we'll see. Is there a player that you would highlight, one in particular, Lance, for this game? And by the way, guys, if you're getting in your score predictions to be part of the giveaway, we're going to close that in about 2 minutes. So make sure, if you haven't done it already, do that. Because I look at this game, and you mentioned a name before. I'm looking at Juwan Johnson, those crucial downs. I actually have a slight suspicion he might be the first player to catch a touchdown for the Saints this year. It's just, I like that connection with him and Carr. For you, who's that guy, whether it's offense, defense, that you feel like, man, this is a pretty good matchup for them to kind of start the year off with a bang?
Honestly, I mean, it's a position that I think that we really, really needed to fill. We struggled at last year, and that's the nickel. So the slot corner, which I believe is going to be Alontae Taylor, and I love it. I mean, you see all of the things that he was able to do from the outside last year, and I look at the traits. Like, is he quick? Is he fast? Does he have good ball skills? Is he physical? Because I think you really need to have all of those traits in the slot. And luckily, the Titans don't have a Cooper Kupp, or Hunter Renfrow, or one of those guys that can really get busy in the slot. Christian Kirk. I mean, there's a bunch of slot guys that are really, really good. So I'm looking at Alontae Taylor having an impact in this game. I don't know necessarily when or where, but potentially a turnover, or some big stops and third downs. That's the guy that I've kind of been high on this offseason, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I think he'll play a big role in this game.
Yeah, certainly. And I guess the last thing I'll say before we get into this giveaway and see who's going to be going to the Saints-Titans game, when you look at this matchup, and I'm curious for you over the course of your career, how much stock goes into week one, win or lose, right? Like when you guys had those years where you do start off on the right foot, does that week one win kind of propel you guys into whatever the rest of the season is? And on the flip side, and I'll pull up the 2011 season, you guys went 13-3, but started off 0-1. It was that tough loss against Green Bay. So you guys were able to rattle off just going, 13-2 for the rest of the season. How much does week one kind of dictate the mood in the locker room at all?
I mean, I'd love to tell you that a win can propel you to a Super Bowl, and a loss, you could rebound from a loss. But honestly, I think it's one game. And it's even smaller these days that there's 17 games. Like, we used to break the season down into quarters, right? You'd have the first quarter be your first 4 games, second quarter be your next 4, and so on. But the fact that you have 16 more opportunities after week one, not to say that week one isn't important, because we all know that everybody would love to get off to a fast start and be 1-0 after the first week. But if there is a situation where we can't win on Sunday, there's still 16 more opportunities to get things going in the right direction and finish the season with not just a winning record, but hopefully winning a division and having an opportunity to compete in the playoffs. So sure, every coach, every player is going to tell you it's great to start off 1-0 with a fast start and, with some winning momentum. But I don't think that a loss is a must. I mean, a win is a must in week one if you want to be able to have success down the line.
Yeah, that is totally fair. So 28-14, are you going to stick with that? I'm curious.
Sure.
Okay, you're going to go there. I'm going to go with my weird theory that I hope does not happen, because last year was stressful enough. Week one, we don't need another. But I'm going to say the Saints win 23-20, Blake Grupe game-winning field goal. Now, without further ado, let's bring in Lala if she can and help us out with this giveaway and see who's going to end up going to this Saints-Titans game, which, man, I've been kind of having this one circled for a while. So let's see who ends up winning this giveaway. And then the winner of this giveaway, just make sure to DM Boo Crew Media on Twitter and you could claim your ticket. So let's see who comes out here on top. This is pretty exciting. I'd enter myself, but this is for the fans. So let's see who ends up winning this giveaway here. I believe that says AK Cartier. So whoever that goes to, if you're paying attention, make sure you go out there on Twitter and DM Boo Crew Media so you could claim your tickets. It's going to be a fun one, man. It is absolutely going to be a fun one. Saints Titans. Any last thoughts you have, Lance, before we head out of here? Obviously a pivotal week one game. And man, I honestly think if they beat a Mike Vrabel team, I know you said it's one game. For me, it would say something, because there's so much pressure on Dennis Allen, right? Of like, is he good enough? And I hold Vrabel in such high regard. So how are you feeling about week one? Final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to add that we didn't get to during the course of the show?
Well, you made me a little bit nervous, so I'm going to change my score to 28-17. I'm a little more comfortable with that. I'm writing it down so I don't forget. Got children, and my mind is all over the place from time to time. So 28-17. Yeah, I like that one a little bit better because that gives me a field goal right there, just in case they get close enough to attempt one. But I really don't have anything. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing this 2023 edition of the Saints. And sure, there's pressure on DA, but he's not getting fired if we lose week 1, right? So the pressure's not that big. Obviously, we want to perform better than we did last year. I think with some of the new pieces that we've brought in, along with some healthy guys this season, I think we're going to be off to a fast start, and this should be, I think, one of the really, really good seasons in Saints history. But obviously, you can't do that unless you start off with a week 1 win, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and no better way, like you said, if they could start off week 1 with a victory over the Titans. So we'll see what happens. 28-17 is Lance's prediction. I'm going to go with 23-20. We're both slightly over the over-under of 41. We'll see how it plays out. Would love to see more fireworks from the Saints offense. It should be a fun one, though. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. As always, we'll have more content coming up in the near future. Congratulations to the winner of the giveaway. Make sure you DM Boo Crew Media. And until then, guys, make sure you subscribe to Boo Crew Media's YouTube page and stay tuned for more content here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation. Have a good night, everyone.